Hello everybody, welcome back to Read and Reread. I'm Angelia and today I'm reviving a video sort of series that I haven't done an installment of in a long time, and I previously have called it Time Warp Tuesday, but it's not Tuesday. So today I borrowed Professor Peabody's Wayback Machine to create Wayback Wednesday. If you have not seen one of these videos before, let me just roll back for a minute and explain that I have been keeping paper reading journals since around 2000, 1999, 2000, and I have them all. And periodically, I will grab an old journal. I'll open it up to the time of year that corresponds to where we are at now, but in one of these previous years. And I've done all lengths. I've done 20 years ago, 5 years ago, different seasons. And so today I have grabbed this journal and I opened it up. I found spring, kind of late spring, early summer, and it's the year 2011. So we're going to find out what I was reading and thinking about back at that time. Do I remember these books? This is one of the great mysteries. There's always something in here that I have no recollection of. And sometimes if I look it up and read a little bit about it, some kind of dim bell begins to ring, and other times it is a complete wash. And then other things I remember very well, and I'm surprised that it was so long ago that I read it. So the mysteries of my brain and the revelations of my reading past are about to once again come to light. And what caught my eye when I first opened this up and flipped through and kind of found the right time of year is we're going to begin with one of my favorite novels, and that is Maul Flanders by Danielle Defoe. Now, in this particular journal entry, this was my first rereading of this book. So I read this book back, I don't know, it may have been for a class in graduate school, and I really loved it. And then I think the reread was not until this entry in 2011. And I have reread it again more recently than that time, a few years ago. And now just thinking about it and looking over this entry, guess what? I want to read it again. I really love this book. I love this character. There was recently a tag that had a question about a character that at first you're not sure, and then you realize as you go along that they get worse and worse. I could have used, I don't know, remember who I actually put in for the answer, but I could have used Moll Flanders. She is pretty awful, but wonderful too. An amazing creation by Danielle Defoe in the early 18th century. And if you have never read Moll Flanders, it is the story of a woman who commits many crimes and transgressions in her attempts to stay solvent, to stay afloat in this cruel world. And there weren't a whole lot of options as far as jobs and livelihoods for women in the early 18th century. Some of it takes place in London, some of it takes place in the American colonies, some of it takes place in some other locations in England. I think there's a long section that maybe a couple of times in Bath. There are marriages in this book, but it's not a marriage plot. Well, sometimes it's a marriage scheme. Moll Flanders has multiple children along the way and doesn't really raise any of them. And she's a thief. She's a con artist. She's just really a memorable creation. And I skimmed through this journal entry. This comment that I made caught my eye. Moll really has no moral limits when it comes to dodging destitution, but her downfall is when she gets into the sport of stealing and does it more than necessary for survival. Shades of Walter White. So yes, a lot of her misadventures begin with an attempt to just hang on, just become stable, but she does indeed develop a taste for the sport of the theft or the con. And so the book is fun. I want to read it again and think of it more in light of, I'm reading it and thinking about her. I'm thinking about her being written by a male author in the 18th century. I'm thinking about, is she sort of a early feminist character or not? If I'm thinking about it in that lens and I read it again, what am I going to think about about all of that. So that's where I'm coming from. And once you've read a book several times, you can kind of set up certain goals or frameworks of something that's on your mind as you read, or you can just read and see what pops out. So yeah, Maul Flanders, love it. I wrote a whole long page about it. Oops, why did I shut the journal? That's not all we're going to talk about. Okay, let's flip through. I haven't seen all of this yet. I kind of found the starting point and I was excited that it was Maul Flanders. It looks like I read Crooked Letter, Crooked Letter. I'll put the author's name up here because I don't remember. This was a mystery. I think it was, I do remember reading it. I don't know that I loved it. Let's see. I know there's these two brothers, and one of them's a lawyer, I think, and yeah, that's all I remember. Moving on, let's see, Sister Carrie. Oh, we have another classic. I remember reading this with a book club, an in-person book club that I belonged to at that time, and I think that I liked it. Here's my recollection. As I started reading it, I wasn't sure if I was going to like it, and then I kind of got into it. Let's see what I said. Better than expected when I first looked at it. I saw the small print and the high school footnotes and thought, ugh. But then it moved along. Okay, well, that's always good. I know that it's kind of interesting that that is right near Maul Flanders, because it's another examination of a woman's survival in a different era, but I might need to read that one again too, so I don't remember a whole lot about it, except that the character Carrie was kind of interesting because she was not a very likable person, but it was interesting to watch her machinations. All right, now the next one is one of these ones where I wonder about the state of my brain, because it is Before You Suffocate Your Own Fool Self, which is by Danielle Evans. Now, I read The Office of Historical Corrections maybe the year before last for Shorty September. It was one of my choices, and I was under the impression that that was my first time reading Danielle Evans. I did like that book. I recommend it, but I thought that was my debut of reading her work. But no, apparently not. Apparently I read this previous story collection and I liked them. And it says I read them quickly, and I will look for Evans' next writing. Well, the prophecy came true. I just didn't remember the prophecy. All right, then I did read, this is a nonfiction book that I remember very well. It has a star. I put a star on it. The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. I was thinking about this book again the other day because I was reading some poems by Floyd Skloot and his daughter, Rebecca Skloot. She wrote this book. It is a nonfiction book. She's a journalist. She wrote about the story of Henrietta Lacks and how her, what do you call it, like the cell strain? I'm just murkying this all up. You probably know what this book is about. So a woman named Henrietta Lacks in the earlier 20th century, I can't remember, mid 20th century, early. Anyway, she was a woman who died of cervical cancer. Her cancer cells were saved and used and cultured, and the cell line is, I don't know if it's still being used, but it was used for many decades in medical research, but no acknowledgement was ever given to the Lacks family. And Rebecca Skloot examines the use of medical products that come from people's bodies. She examines the history of using African American people for medical research without their consent, either living or dead. She becomes kind of personally involved in getting to know the descendants of Henrietta Lacks in that family. And so the book it's a nonfiction book. It even though it involves science and medicine, it's not really a scientific book per se, and she is personally involved. There was some criticism of that. And what's interesting to me is a couple of years ago, see, to me, I'm not a scientist, so it was very interesting. I learned as much science as I wanted to learn, the personal story, the American history. I loved all of that. My daughter was supposed to read this for a class. She is a scientist, and she was supposed to read this for a class a couple years ago when she was still an undergraduate, and it was a cell biology class. I bought her a copy. I said, oh, this is great. She wasn't that into it because she was reading it wanting to see more about the science, about what happened, how the cell line was discovered and preserved and used. And then she didn't like all these detours into the Rebecca Skloot's getting to know the family. She wanted to get back to the scientific story. So we ended up accidentally representing both ends of the spectrum of reviews and responses to this book. Okay, The Birdman. Okay, this is by, is her name Mo Hayder? I'll put it up here if it's not Mo Hayder. It was a thriller, and it's the one and only book I read by this author because it was so disgusting and gross. It turned me off so bad that I never read another book by this author. I think she has since passed away. And this is what I wrote. So gross, unnecessary level of grotesque detail. Reminds me of Red Dragon. Of course, I kind of liked Red Dragon. I looked up a review that said something similar. I like the detective, but I will never read another one of these books because it went too far. Reviews like this long. So I held true to that, and I did remember it. It was a cautionary tale. Okay, then we have The False Friend by Myla Goldberg, which I don't remember whatsoever. I got nothing. A hotel read. It started out good. I was intrigued by the character. Blah, 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 blah. I don't know. It couldn't have been that intriguing because I don't remember it. And then we had Faith by Jennifer Haigh. Love this. Love all of her books. Love this author. This was one of the best ones. This was about a priest who has been disgraced. He's been accused of sexual impropriety. And it's about his family primarily. It's about his sister, I think, was the main character, who does not believe. He denies that these accusations are true, and she believes him, and she wants to clear his name. She wants to find out what happened. Then she's kind of afraid that she will find out what happened, and it won't be what she wants it to be. And that's what I recall. And I know she has a new book out now that I'm kind of waiting for the library to get, but I'm never disappointed by Jennifer Haigh. So I recommend that one. I read a book by Belinda Bauer that I didn't like called Darkside. I've really loved a couple of her books. Was it called Snap and Blacklands? She has a new one out now that looks really good. Darkside, not so much. It was a psychological thriller, but the reveal of who was the person was really disappointing. I do remember this. It was like watching a bad TV movie thriller. I don't want to give it away in case you decide to read it, even though I just told you it wasn't any good. But it wasn't any good. Don't read it. And then finally, we have Juliet Neaked by Bruce Hornsby. Or maybe that's not finally. It looks like there's one more that fits into our time frame. All right, Juliet Neaked, Nick Hornby. I don't read a lot of Nick Hornby. I'm kind of neutral. I think I've seen more movie adaptations than read books, but I didn't see this movie. I just read the book. It was about a couple that have been treading water for a long time, and the guy is really obsessed with this musician who's become obscure, elusive, like somebody who did one of those legendary walkouts where they just kind of disappear, and there's like a fan group that's obsessed with this musician. And then I can't remember exactly how it happened, but the couple has a breakup, and the woman starts communicating with the musician, and kind of a friendship or a relationship starts up. I don't know. I feel like I liked it. Was the movie good? Who saw the movie? Should I watch the movie? I don't really want to read the book again. Sweetness at the Bottom of the Pie by Alan somebody. There was a girl and her name was like Flavia. I liked the book. I never went on with the series. I didn't like it that much to want to read more and more of it, but I think I enjoyed the first one. This is June, so we're kind of at the end here where we're getting to the beginning of the summer reading. This would have been in 2011. Summer was the high time for me because I was working full time, and let's see if what is that, 10 years ago? 9 years ago? And this one, I remember it was set in the 1950s, I guess, and there's a girl who has a chemistry lab in her house and she becomes an amateur sleuth. Was the rest of the series good? Am I sleeping on this? I remember enjoying it, but I guess I didn't enjoy it enough. I do like the last line of my journal entry. I'm a sucker for a big old dilapidated British house with lots of endless rooms. I still am. I still am. Always the best. All right, we're going to stop there. I'm not going to go on. The rest is like way up in the middle of summer. So that's enough. You got the idea. This is what I was reading in the late spring, right at the start of summer of whenever that was, 2011. Can you remember what you were reading back then? Did you keep any records? Because I sit here all day going through this old journal, but I shall not, because you will die of boredom. So I will stop there. I hope you're having a good day. I'll be back on Friday for Friday Reads. Happy reading. Bye-bye.